Hey now, happy Thursday afternoon and welcome to 580 Sports Talk. It is a do or die Thursday for the Kansas City Royals, who will play game 4 of the ALDS tonight. You'll be able to catch the game right here on 580 WIBW and the Royals Radio Network. After losing a heartbreaker a night ago, the Royals are down 2-1 in a best-of-5 series against the hated, loathed, fighting Bob Costas, known as the New York Yankees. We will recap last night's game. We will look ahead to tonight's game and get you all the details in between coming up over the next 3 hours on 580 Sports Talk. We've got a very busy day. We're actually going to have Dan Lucero, who is on his way right now as we speak. He is on his way to the K to cover tonight's game, game 4 of the ALDS. We will actually get Dan on the horn here in just a moment, and we'll recap last night's game, everything he saw, he noticed from Kauffman Stadium. We'll look ahead to the game coming up tonight. That's in just a moment. We'll also look around the rest of the MLB playoffs. We know one team that has made it to baseball's Final Four, the New York Mets, knocking out the Philadelphia Phillies last night. Crazy game in the other NLDS. ALDS going on still as well. Tigers with an advantage over the Guardians. We'll break all that down in this hour. We'll hear from Matt Quatraro a little bit later on today. He is going to speak right around the top of the 4 o'clock hour, close to it anyway. So we're going to hear from him and what he has to say ahead of tonight's contest. We'll hear from Michael Massey and maybe a little Michael Wacha in the 5 o'clock hour today. We're not only doing Royals, we're also going to talk some Chiefs football coming up in the 5 o'clock hour. It's Thursday. You know what that means. Mitch Holthus, the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs, is going to join us, brought to you by Hy-Vee and Azura Credit Union. And we'll talk to Paul Myerberg at the bottom of the 4 o'clock hour for this week's edition of the Big 12 Football Breakdown. So much great stuff every week with Paul. Can't wait to talk to him. We've got the Lewis Toyota Local Sports Spotlight with Rick Peterson this hour. Your texts to the Top City Metal Supply text line, 785-27 to 9429, and you can check us out on YouTube. 580 Sports Talk is the name of our YouTube channel. Head to youtube.com, search 580 Sports Talk. That is the easiest way to go and find our channel. Subscribe, hang out with us in the comments section. Let us know your thoughts on last night's game, your prediction for tonight's contest, any of that. Got a message here on YouTube in the live comments from Tyler. Way too many walks. Yup. That's what it comes down to. Put too many guys on base. Too many free passes yesterday. Our pal, the Bard, Christopher. The home cooking was mighty fine, but now it tastes like turpentine. It's not very fun with only 8 runs in innings the last 59. The offense has completely sputtered at this part of the season. The Royals need to find a way to get some more runners on base and to find a way to get them home. And they're going to have to do it tonight against the Yankees' best starting pitcher, Garrett Cole. Mark in the YouTube comments, he's happy. He's excited. He's feeling good about this matchup. I have a good feeling about it tonight, BD and Spencer. I'm Brendan Dworzinski. That's Spencer Dupuy across the glass, by the way. I don't know if I even mentioned that to lead things off today. So much going on. So many things revolving around Royals baseball that we've got to make sure we get to here. But we do want to hear from you, your predictions, your thoughts. Our texter from yesterday, the Royals realist from the 785, all caps. Judge will homer in game 4. I want the underdog Tigers to win it all. Judge is a captain just like Salvi is. He gets credit despite all of his strikeouts. Gee whiz, sarcastic comment there. Yeah, I could do without Bob Costas acting like Aaron Judge is about to save humankind every single time that he swings the bat. That's too much, and I can't take it. But we only have 3 hours today. We cannot gripe too much about Bob Costas because it might take us all the way past first pitch tonight if we were just going to gripe about his commentary. Instead, it's time to get the ball rolling on this Thursday edition of 580 Sports Talk. Our Dan Lucero is right now, as we speak, on his way to Kauffman Stadium to watch and cover Game 4 of the ALDS, and he is also now joining us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline from the road. Dan, how is the commute to the K this afternoon?
So far, so good. Just outside of Bonner Springs, just a little, west of Bonner Springs yet. But Making good time, making good headway. Can't wait to sit in traffic over the bridge near downtown on 670.
Everybody's favorite part of going to the Truman Sports Complex, traffic right before you get there. All right, let's start with last night's game. I want to start with the good. I want to ease us into the unfortunate bad that happened last night. Most importantly, a loss in Game 3 of the ALDS. We talked a little bit before the game when you joined us yesterday, Dan, about the environment, about what it was like to be there at the K for playoff baseball again. You were there for all 9 innings, the pregame, the postgame press conferences, the locker room, all of that. Tell us about the experience of being there for some postseason baseball. It was a great crowd at the K last night. You could even see that on TV.
Yeah, it was a hot crowd. It was just a shame that they didn't have more reason to cheer. They had plenty of reason to boo. They were giving Jazz Chisholm the business last night. I know Jazz after the game said that nobody boos a bum, but I would contend, number one, most of the time that I boo, it's because someone is either a bum or exhibiting bum tendencies. And number two, the original quote is actually, they don't boo nobodies. And that came from Reggie Jackson, who's in the Hall of Fame. And Jazz Chisholm has accumulated less than 9 wins above replacement in 5 major league seasons. So maybe he wants to chill on the whole idea that he's not a bum. Maybe he just needs to pump his brakes a little bit. I'm sure the crowd of the K will give it to him again tonight. But, no, great crowd, awesome atmosphere for baseball. It's a good baseball city, Kansas City, so it's a savvy crowd. They know when to be loud. They know when to get into the game. Again, just didn't have that opportunity to really erupt, and the Royals missed their chances, didn't generate enough of them on offense, and the home run by Stan in the 8th took a lot of wind out of everybody. So it was a disappointing end to what was a great night to have playoff baseball back at the K.
What are we going to do with this offense, Dan? Because that is now in the last 2 games in which the Royals are 1-1, and you give the boys credit for winning one of those games. But they've played 18 innings over the last 2 games and have scored in all of 2 of them. They got 4 in 1 inning in Game 2. They got 2 in 1 inning in Game 3, and that is it. They have hit the skids to a degree we only saw at their absolute nadir during the month of September. What is it going to take for a last-minute injection of energy, confidence, and production into the offense tonight against what, frankly, is going to be a tough matchup against Garrett Cole?
It starts with the leadoff man. You got to get somebody on base and put pressure on a pitcher to start an inning, and the Royals never got the leadoff man aboard last night. 9 innings, the leadoff man was 0 for 9. That's a tough way to build an inning when you're starting with 1 out, nobody on. So that's the first thing. The leadoff hitters in each inning have to put together some good at-bats, try to get on base, give the Royals a chance to put a little pressure on Garrett Cole and the Yankees tonight. That's going to be key number 1. Key number 2 is they got to get more from their best hitters. Bobby Witt Jr. finally joined the fray with a hit in the 8th inning last night. His first hit in the series. He's 0 for 12 with a walk. Royals need more from him. Royals need something from Vinny Pasquantino. Royals have to get better with runners in scoring position. There were some chances to deliver a go-ahead run or a tying run in that game that got away from the Royals because the 2-out runner with scoring position at bat didn't generate anything. But it all starts for me with the leadoff man. You have to get the leadoff man on base. That's how you're going to get the crowd into it. That's how you're going to rattle Cole and the Yankees. That's how you're going to build innings and give yourself a chance to put enough runs on the board tonight.
Our Dan Lucero is joining us en route to Kauffman Stadium for Game 4 of the ALDS, which, of course, you'll be able to catch tonight on the Royals Radio Network right here on 580 WIBW. One note from that Bobby Witt Jr. hit in the 8th inning. Do you wish, or were you hoping at the time that he would get a chance to steal second base?
Yeah, I think everybody in the ballpark was waiting for it, right? And if he had that opportunity to steal second base, and if he takes second, he scores on Salvador Perez's single up the middle, and we have a tie ball game. I was a little surprised he didn't get a chance to go, but it's not as cut and dried as, oh, well, he's got a green light, he's going to steal. I would have to go back and watch like the pitch sequence. When I asked Matt Quatraro about it after the game, it was certainly something that I felt like he wanted to do, would have liked to have seen, but sometimes the circumstances don't allow you. If you don't get the right pitch, if your batter doesn't get into the right count, then you really can't go anywhere. And that is kind of how it felt, that he just kind of got stuck at first base during Pasquantino's at bat. And then when by the time Salvi singled, he hadn't had a chance to get off of first, so he can only advance as far as third. But that's another thing that the Royals have to do, and getting leadoff hitters helps with that. They got to be more aggressive on the bases. That's their whole thing. They're not going to be a team that beats you with the home run, right? The long ball. This has not been a gap-hitting team, certainly throughout September in these playoffs. They've got to get them on, get them over, and get them in. And right now they're missing the get them over element of that, whether that's by situational hitting or by starting to be a little bit more aggressive stealing bases.
On the pitching front, how worried are you about the walks? Because now through the last 26 innings, Royals pitching has allowed 22 of them. I mean, Lugo, you could tell pretty early on last night, just did not have command. It happens sometimes, but you don't ever want it to happen in a game as pivotal as last night's game was. How worried are you about the lack of control from Royals pitching, both starting-wise and out of the pen so far this series?
I think it would be less of a problem if the umpires would call strikes on pitches that Royals pitchers throw in the zone. I think that would be one way to help matters. But still, 9 walks is way too many. You can't blame the umpires for that. You can credit the Yankees for that. I think they've had a really good approach. Royals pitchers haven't really been able to take them out of the strike zone, get them chasing when they've been in good counts, and that's a credit to the Yankees hitters. It's a credit to that lineup. But I talked to Brady Singer after last night's game. We spoke in the clubhouse. I was part of the media scrum talking to Brady. He only threw 6 pitches. He didn't walk anybody. He struck out Aaron Judge on a 3-2 pitch to get out of the 7th inning in his relief appearance. And he said that by and large, the biggest thing for the staff, you just have to trust your stuff within the zone. Don't nibble. Trust that your stuff is good enough to get swings and misses or weak contact when you throw it within the zone. I think maybe the Royals pitchers have struggled with that just a little bit. So I thought Brady was right on. That was a good bit of insight from him after last night's game in the clubhouse.
Was good to see Brady Singer come out, and he didn't have to do much in terms of length in the game, but what he was asked to do, he excelled at. So that was certainly a positive. We're joined by Dan Lucero, our co-host here on 580 Sports Talk, who will be covering Game 4 of the ALDS tonight. You can find his coverage on our 580 Sports Talk Twitter account. You'll see tweets from the game on the feed all evening long. You will also be able to check out his work post-game on the 580 Sports Talk YouTube channel and at 580WIBW.com. All right, Dan, let's look ahead to tonight's game. What do the Royals need out of Michael Wacha? We'll get to offensive expectations in a moment. Obviously, the offense has to be better. But after back-to-back games, you won the first one, lost the second one, where you only got 4 1/3 out of Reagan's and then barely got through 5 with Lugo. What do the Royals need out of Michael Wacha tonight?
Length. I think you landed on it there. They need their starter to get them into the 6th inning. That's been a big part of their success all season long. And look, it's harder in the playoffs. The hooks are shorter for understandable reasons. And if Wacha wavers even a little bit, I think the hook will come fairly quickly, because this is a back against the wall. There is no tomorrow if you lose this one. So I think Matt Quatraro will be aggressive with bullpen, but it would be nice for Wacha to be able to go out, throw strikes, set a tone, and work into the 5th, 6th inning, so the Royals don't have to go so deep into their bullpen. Their bullpen's been really good in the playoffs. 1 run in 4 innings last night is good bullpen work. Like, you take that, extrapolate that over the course of a season. If your bullpen had a 2.25 ERA, it would be the best bullpen in baseball. But you're extending those guys. The Yankees have seen now Zerpa, I believe, in all 3 games. Mm-hmm. They've seen Bubic in all 3 games. I think they've seen Schreiber in all 3 games. They've seen Long in at least 2 of them. You've seen Lorenzen in 2 of them. So you run the risk of overexposing those guys, and a way to limit that is if your starting pitcher goes out and is efficient, doesn't walk guys, get you some outs, and get you into that 6th inning. I think that would be absolutely critical for the Royals.
Garrett Cole, which, as I've been saying repeatedly, really tough matchup. Garrett Cole won a Cy Young in the American League literally just last season. He's one of the best starting pitchers in Major League Baseball, but the Royals did bother him back in Game 1. It was unfortunate that game ended up in a loss. But if you chase Garrett Cole with 4 runs, 3 of which were earned, allowed in just 5 innings with 7 hits, you're doing something really, really well. It's one of the few times in recent weeks, certainly this postseason, the Royals offense has actually come alive. Where's your confidence level with this batting order against Garrett Cole in the second time in this series?
So I saw some interesting numbers, and obviously I don't have them in front of me right now because I'm driving. But the
Wow,
Royals
slacking.
Yeah, I know, right? Bad job by me. I should have a laptop up and everything. If only I had a Tesla. If only we had a company Tesla, you could read it to me or something while I drove with no hands and just hope the car didn't blow up. The Royals were really good this season. A top 10 offense in baseball against fastballs over 94 miles an hour. Like, the Royals do well against premium velocity relative to the rest of teams. That gives them a chance against Cole, who's got a really good fastball. And you said it. They had good at-bats against him in Game 1. MJ Melendez, famously sometimes not so great against velocity. He took care of Cole deep in Game 1. He timed up that fastball pretty well. So that's going to be the thing. The Royals have to get after Cole early. They have to jump on the fastball. Don't let him get deep into counts and get to the breaking ball. I think it's going to be an aggressive Royals lineup tonight, but it can't be aggressive in the sense that they think they've got to hit the ball over the fence every pitch. They've got to have a gap-to-gap approach, make sure they're getting to that fastball and doing some damage against Cole's fastball. If they can do that, they're going to give themselves a chance tonight.
All right, let's get your prediction. Royals, Yankees, Game 4 of the ALDS. If the Yankees win, the season's over for the Royals. If the Royals win, they get one more, at least one more, Cole Reagan's Day coming up this weekend. Who gets it done tonight?
You know, I don't love the pitching matchup. Obviously, on paper, it's the Yankees ace. It's the Royals number 4, but I just can't see the Royals letting it slip at home. I think that we'll see a team that comes out tonight ready to be on the attack offensively. I think you'll see a veteran pitcher with postseason experience in Wacha who's ready to attack the strike zone. I think we're going to see a Royals win tonight. It might not be pretty. It might not be as easy as the Game 4 win the Dodgers got last night in San Diego, for instance. But for the Royals, I think this thing goes back to the Bronx.
We hope you're right. We absolutely hope you're right. Our pal Dan Lucero out of studio today because he's on his way to Kauffman Stadium to cover Royals versus Yankees in Game 4 of the ALDS. Check out his coverage on the 580 Sports Talk YouTube, 580WIBW.com, and on Twitter at 580 Sports Talk. Dan, enjoy the game today. What's your prediction for catering tonight? Call your shot.
Oh man, ESPN hooked us up with Joe's KC yesterday. Maybe Turner's got tonight. Maybe Turner will get a date or Arthur Bryant's or something. It's the least they can do for foisting Bob Costas on the viewing audience.
Yeah, you're the luckiest man in America that you don't have to. That's Dan Lucero, our co-host here on 580 Sports Talk, on his way to Kauffman Stadium tonight, Game 4 of the ALDS. And if you want to watch the game with Bob Costas on the call, you can listen to the action here on 580 WIBW. Pregame at 6:30, first pitch at 7:08. We should mention this. Spencer, we're going to get your take on last night's game here in just a second and a prediction for tonight as well. We have a text from the 785. I want to make sure we address this. Last night, across the Royals radio network, there was an issue. I don't know exactly what the issue was, but there was a problem. We have a text from the 785 that says, I'm a courier in a vehicle. I hope the radio feed gets solved. We have been told by the Royals, the problem is fixed. They do not anticipate a problem again. They have been, and we were told this earlier today, they have been testing the network all day to make sure they're not going to run into the same problem. It was not just us on 580. The flagship, formerly KCSP in Kansas City, they had problems with it. Elsewhere around Kansas, Missouri, Nebraska, wherever, they had problems with it. It was not just a 580 problem. We are sorry it happened. It was something that was completely out of our control. But we have been told by the Royals organization the problem is fixed. They do not anticipate it happening again. So I am sorry, because it sucks to be looking forward to it and to have it not be playable. Essentially, it was cutting out so much. But we have been told things are going to be fixed. We are hoping for the best. We are expecting a normal broadcast per usual tonight with first pitch at 7:08. But I appreciate our texter from the 785 bringing that up. Should be fixed tonight. That is what we have been told. I hope it is able to hold up. All right, the game itself. Spencer, from last night, because I know you got to watch all 9 innings last night. What stood out the most? I ask, is it the walks from the pitchers and the fact that you didn't get a lot of length out of Lugo, or is it the woes of the offense? But even asking that question, it says to me, You still only gave up 3 runs.
Yeah.
You still only gave up 2 runs in 5 innings with Lugo. The bullpen gave up just 1 in 4. Your offense has only scored in 2 of the last 18 innings. Something's got to give, I think, with that offense. That's, to me, that's got to be the answer.
Yeah, it is. And, my biggest takeaway was they got to the starter Schmidt, right? They got to him in, was it the 5th?
What inning was? I actually don't remember what inning it was. I think you're right.
They got to him. They got him out of the game. And there was 2 outs, but they couldn't keep going. That was the biggest thing is they can't get, it seems like they can't get anything off the relievers for the Yankees. And Q talked about that last night. He said, we would have loved to have obviously keep the line moving, but that's where I thought they had a shot to keep the line moving and change the outcome of that game last night. But unfortunately they couldn't. The walks, I think, the balls and strikes being called didn't help them last night.
No,
there were quite a few times where it appeared it was a ball, they call it a strike, or it was a ball and they call it a strike. It was a strike both ways.
It's been frustrating.
It was really frustrating, and I think you give up 3 runs, and 3 runs is a quality start, right? Is 3 runs or less a quality start?
It is 3 runs or less in 6 innings or more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To me, you give up 3 runs or less, you should be able to, if your batting's there, you should be able to at least make it a tie game.
It's a winnable game. It is absolutely. That's essentially what a quality start is. They should really just call them winnable games.
Yes.
Because if your starter gives you that, you have a chance. And I know Lugo didn't have his best stuff last night, but I agree.
He was cruising through the first couple innings and then got a little tough.
Yeah, what was it? 16 pitches in the first 2 innings? I thought he was going to throw 75 and go a complete game.
Yeah.
The way he was early.
I will say we've knocked on this already, but that game was so hard to have volume on for.
It was terrible.
So bad.
It was awful.
And 2 times you thought something happened. If you weren't 100% paying attention to the TV, you thought something happened, and guess what? That was the exact opposite. The fly out for Judge, a deep drive left field, that's fly out, and then Vinny Pasquantino up the middle. I thought that was a hit because I wasn't watching it. I was doing something else at the time.
Had your eyes down, yeah.
I had my eyes down or away from the TV, and I was like, oh, and then it was like, oh, I don't know. You can't say I don't know. I could have done a better call last night.
Line drive into center, base hit. Oh, did he smother it? No, he just caught a soft liner.
Yeah.
Dude,
I rest my case on that. We're done talking about that.
Yeah, hang it up, bro. Put the fries in the bag, Bob. Come on. All right, tonight, who you got? I am sorry. I hate being the pessimist. I want to be optimistic. I told you if the Royals won last night, I thought it would go 5, and I thought they would win the series. I really thought so. I have been pushing the Michael Wacha agenda since early August. I am not worried about Michael Wacha. I am extremely worried about not maybe being able to use all of your best bullpen arms in this game. And the fact that the offense is just dead, man. It is just dead right now. It is dead, so frustrating.
I almost want to say leave Vinny, why was Vinny Pasquantino in the lineup? Should have put Freddie Fermin. Like, you're going to go through this whole series, and I don't think he's pinch hit once.
I don't think he has either. Not that I recall. Yeah. Anyway, I get it because Vinny's your guy. He is one of the guys.
Brought him off the IL.
Right. He fought his way back. I get it. But at the same time, you've got to find some way to develop some offense. And look, maybe that means if Bobby Witt Jr. is on base, you steal. I don't care if the Yankees know. He is so fast. Let him steal. Be aggressive. Try to steal runs and manufacture runs that way. That might be the thing the Royals have to do. I don't know. I'm going to take the Yankees to win this one. I'm sorry. I hate doing it. I hope the Royals win because I told you yesterday, if it goes 5 and the Royals get another Reagan's game, I'm taking the Royals to win the series. I just don't have a lot of faith in this offense. I will take the Yankees tonight.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think you got Garrett Cole on the mound.
Yeah, it's going to be
in
tough.
A closeout game. That's tough.
Tough situation.
The offense has been up and down, and my only thought is if you get to him tonight, you got to get to him a lot. You got to do it a grand slam or something.
Yep. You got to chase him early.
Yeah, you got to get him
early.
out of the game, but also you have to get it, like you have to do maybe 1-1-3.
You need some consistency. It can't be the one spurt.
Yes, because if you get the one spurt, then they go to the bullpen, and the bullpen just seems to have shut the Royals down this year. Or this series.
I am planning for the worst, but I am hoping for the best tonight. Royals, Yankees, Game 4 of the ALDS, 7:08 first pitch, 6:30 pregame. We'll take you to 6 o'clock. We've got a little overtime from 6 to 6:30, and then we'll send you off to the Royals radio network. We owe you a timeout. We've gone long here in the opening segment. That's fine. Plenty of Royals to get to. We'll come on back, look at the rest of the MLB playoffs. Plenty of fun action yesterday on the final 4-game day of the baseball season. Rick Peterson will join us for the local sports spotlight coming up a little bit later on this hour. It's all coming up on this Thursday edition, a do or die Royals edition of 580 Sports Talk. A playoff roundup in the 3 o'clock hour on October 10th. Oh, that felt good to hear. Ooh, That was good. We'll get through this quickly. We got to get to Pistol, Rick Peterson from TopSports.News for the local sports spotlight. But some news from around the Major League Baseball postseason from the American League divisional series, along with Yankees versus Royals. Tigers Guardians is still going on. The Tigers have a 2-1 lead in that series. They will play tonight, really this afternoon, 5:08 first pitch from Detroit. Tigers going to get it done? They moving on to the ALCS?
I think so.
If they don't do it today, I think they will this weekend. I think they're going to do it. They're the team of destiny this year, and destiny does not always end the way we expect it to, but they are the team of destiny, I think, right now. I'm going to take the Tigers. I think they even get it done tonight. I think they will eliminate the Guardians in 4 games. From the National League, how about the Mets? The Grimace Mets eliminate the Philadelphia Phillies in 4 games. They advance onto the NLCS. The Phillies offense batted under 200 for the series. The Mets they are the National League version of the Tigers. Now, granted, the big difference is the Mets also have one of the biggest, if not the very biggest payroll in all of baseball. So that skews things a little bit with that comparison. But I give the Mets credit, man. They played their best baseball down the stretch. They are continuing to play their best baseball right now. That's what you want. And if you're a Mets fan, you've got to be pretty happy that your owner was willing to spend $341 million to build a pretty good roster, and that you're probably going to have the runner-up for MVP in the National League in Francisco Lindor.
Yeah.
Pretty nice guy to have.
It's hilarious. There's a Nationals funny thing here. When Bryce Harper left the Nationals and signed with the Phillies, do you remember the words that he uttered?
I do not. I know the gist of it, though.
So he said he mistook his places and said, I'm going to bring a championship back to DC. And then the Nationals went on to win the World Series that year. And it's just hilarious that Bryce Harper and the Phillies still have not won a World Series.
Yeah, it is very funny. I would agree with that. It is very funny they have not. So the Mets are advancing onto the NLCS. Also, we've got a Game 5 in Los Angeles. Dodgers, Padres. The Dodgers last night blew out San Diego 8-0. Just a barrage of home runs. That series is now tied at 2 games apiece. Tomorrow night, 7:08 Central Time, it'll be Game 5 between the Dodgers and the Dads. That should be a whole lot of fun at Dodger Stadium. That crowd is going to be electric and maybe a little dangerous. So please, don't be idiots out there, Dodgers and Padres fans. Coming up on the other side of this timeout, we've got the local sports spotlight brought to you by Lewis Toyota. We'll be joined by Rick Peterson of TopSports.News. That's up next here on 580 Sports Talk. Joining us via the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline, he is the best of the best when it comes to covering all of our local teams in Topeka and Shawnee County at the prep level, and also the Washburn Ichabods as well. We'll talk a little Washburn football in a bit. His name is Rick Peterson. He covers all things local sports over at TopSports.News. You can also follow him on Twitter at Peterson_Rick. All right, Pistol, we are into week 6 of the high school football season. So I want to ask you, with just a handful of games left this year, what is one storyline from high school football that has emerged that you are most closely following over these final few weeks?
You know, I think I want to follow the last 3 games for Seaman, because I think they really have a chance. They got a tough end of the season, regular season deal, but they got a chance to win that UKC title if they keep it up, and that would be huge for them. The others pretty much have been about what I expected. I would like to see how many wins Topeka High can get. You know, I still think they got a chance to get a couple, and that would be a huge year for them. So they're a lot of storylines, and I really want to see what Rossville and Silver Lake can do in the playoffs now that they're, Rossville's down at the 1A level.
We'll get to all of these storylines here over the course of our conversation today, but I want to start with that Seaman Vikings team, and that's because that'll be our Lewis Toyota game of the week coming up on Friday night, one of the best rivalries in Northeast Kansas. I'm so glad this game is played every year again, Pistol. Shawnee Heights is hosting Seaman. The Vikings, 4-1, had that one tough loss out in Johnson County earlier this year. Other than that, they have been playing phenomenal football, 3 wins in a row, including a high-scoring win over Lansing last time out. Shawnee Heights is 1-4, Pistol, but that is a team that's a lot better than their record indicates, with a really talented quarterback in Aiden Scott as well. What are some of the things you're going to be paying attention to most in this rivalry matchup?
Well, if Seaman gives up 57 points tomorrow night, they'll get beat. I don't think you can count on a game like Shawnee Heights had with DeSoto last week. 69-57, I remember, and that is just crazy to me, to have that many points in a high school game with shorter quarters and all that. But I think Seaman will be looking to hold the T-Birds to manageable numbers anyway.
We have a texter in who's asked from the 785, think anybody will play defense in this game? Yeah, I mean, that game last week for Shawnee Heights against DeSoto was remarkable. And I mean, you just go up and down the schedule this year for the T-Birds, Pistol, and you lose in a crazy game by 12 against DeSoto, but you had a legit chance. Anytime you score 57, you do. The week before that, a 1-score loss. The week before that, on the road against Baser, a 1-score loss. They were competitive against Rural in week 1. Does this feel like a team that, even if they finish with a losing record, Pistol, has a chance to win a playoff game or two? Because this is a program regarding coach, regarding just general talent, the quarterback. I would not want a first-round matchup against Shawnee Heights, even if I get that at home.
Yeah, you stole the words right out of my mouth, because I think there's a lot of people out there right now that are thinking we don't want to draw Shawnee Heights in that first round. And so they're dangerous. I mean, I think they're dangerous. You mentioned Aiden Scott, and he's great, but he's also got very, very good receivers. And I like David Wakes at running back. They got a lot of weapons. They just, we always talk about getting over the hump, and they've had trouble getting over the hump.
Let's go to a team that was just mentioned there from that Shawnee Heights schedule. Washburn Rural, they picked up a win over Topeka High, who, again, we'll get to here momentarily. They got that win last weekend to improve to 2-3 on the year. Sort of unfamiliar territory for this Rural program, given how many wins Steve Bueller's group has racked up over the last few seasons. But they are entering a fascinating part of the schedule. They got a win over Topeka High. That's a big one. Emporia and Junction City at home the next 2 weeks. And look, it's never easy to play Junction City, but they are also really reeling this season. Then final game of the year, they'll take on the always dangerous Manhattan Indians. This feels like the time, Pistol, to me, for Washburn Rural to really make a move and establish some momentum heading into the postseason. Do you feel the same way?
Yes, and I think 4-4 at the minimum for them. And again, I go back to what we just said about Shawnee Heights. You don't want to draw Washburn Rural that first round.
Mm-hmm.
A good junior quarterback and John Hoytel. I love their running backs. I love, TJ Minikue and Baum. I love those. They got some good receivers. I think they, like you said, they'll be trying to build some momentum. And if they get, three, let's see, how many they got left? Three?
Three left, yeah.
Yeah. If they win 2 out of those 3, I think they're in good shape for a pretty good 6A playoff spot.
Rick Peterson is our guest. He covers all things local sports over at TopSports.News. This is our Lewis Toyota Local Sports Spotlight on 580 Sports Talk. As for that Topeka High team, they suffered their first loss of the year against Rural last weekend. They get a winnable game, albeit on the road this weekend against Junction City. This feels like a game that going into the year, I don't think anyone would have expected Topeka High to win, Pistol, but the way these two teams are playing, I would not write off the Trojans in this matchup.
Well, first of all, I thought I was impressed last week with Topeka High in a lot of areas. They had a couple of plays early in the game that if those go differently, I think it would have been a lot closer game. So, and if they can get this one, boy, they're sitting there at 5 wins. Again, who would have thunk that before the start of the season? So I like them. I like their quarterback. I like their receivers. I like their running back, Ewing. I think if they can get this, but like you said, who would have thought Junction City be sitting there at 1 win?
As for another team from District 501, Topeka West, obviously been a sluggish start to the year, 0-5 so far for Trey Parker's group. They're showing improvement. Maybe the scoreboard doesn't always show it, but this is a team that's gotten a lot better in the trenches, and that's going to be important this week against Kansas City Turner. They run the triple option. They run out of the flex bone. They're going to keep it on the ground a lot. That's a big one, Pistol. I know that's the game you'll be attending coming up tomorrow night. Do you think West is going to be able to pull off its first win?
Well, that's why I'm going, because I think Trey Parker has done a great job. That staff has done a great job. They've gone through, a lot of adversity, and they're still hanging in there. And I think that would be big for that program just to get something to feel good about.
The last program from District 501. Let's get to Highland Park, which is now 4-1 on the year. Things kind of fell apart last week against Wichita East, but a massive league game coming up tomorrow at home against Atchison. It's the Meadowlark Conference Game of the Year. It is every single year. That's a much, I don't want to say less talented. I don't think that's fair, but it's a much different Atchison team than a year ago. What do you think are the odds Highland Park can finally knock off the Phoenix?
Well, I think they have a good chance. The key is how do they respond to giving up 74 points last week? They hadn't given up a point all season, then they give up 74. They got to throw that, and I'm sure Jermaine's saying the same thing I am. They got to throw that out, get back to work, and know that this is, they have this is going to be the league. Whoever wins this game is going to be the league champion. So, I look for Highland Park to bounce back well. I do think Atchison's really put together a good string of teams, and they're going to feel like that they're the favorites in this game.
A couple more quick ones. We'll go rapid fire with Rick Peterson of TopSports.News here on the local sports spotlight on 580 Sports Talk, brought to you by Lewis Toyota. Hayden Wildcats, they're 4-1. No one's surprised that they're having a great year. That one loss on the road to Wamego by 3 points. Yeah, I'm not too worried about this Hayden team, Pistol. They get Holton coming up tomorrow. Always a fun matchup. What do you like about that game for Hayden?
Oh, it's a great matchup. It always has been. Go all the way back to, when the Tetwans were at Hayden and some of those great players and Hayden or Holton was at like Matt Shermer and some of those. It's been a great matchup and I expect it. It's one of those games that is going to be a great matchup. no matter the records, and the records are still pretty good this year. I think, Holton's got things turned around, and they're playing well. And like you said, Hayden, it was kind of a fluke, I think, that they lost because they had that game in hand. But losing to Wamego is certainly nothing to feel bad about.
Last city team to get to. How about this for a Shawnee County matchup, Pistol? Rossville is hosting Care Paravel. This is weird. Admittedly, it is weird to see this matchup, but it's certainly exciting. Kind of a rebuilding year for this Care Paravel team. Rossville, obviously, regardless of record, they expect success and a deep playoff run every single year. I'm fascinated by this matchup, Pistol. I don't know about you, but I'm just kind of interested to watch the clash of styles between these two teams.
Well, and the key for Care Paravel is to just prove and continue to prove that they can play at that 11-man level. They're short on numbers. They got some really good players. I love Jace Pavlik. I love Ben Roeder. The Benura boys are always good. And but like you say, Rossville's a traditional power, and I think they're really anxious to see what they can do in the 1A ranks. And really, if they win this one, I think the only team that's standing in their way from winning that district is a very good OP program.
All right, Pistol, real quick, got about 20 seconds here. One thought on Washburn. If the Ichabod's are going to pick up an upset win on the road against Fort Hays State Saturday night, it will be because of what?
Sam Van Dyne and those receivers, because I think they're going to have to score some points.
That's a great answer. And he looked good, Pistol. He looked really good in his return to action last week, especially in the second half, I thought.
I thought so, too, and I talked to him, and I think you might have, too. He feels a lot better now. He just feels like he's back.
Rick Peterson covers all of our local teams, Washburn, the county schools, the city schools, all at TopSports.News. That is the #1 source for all the best coverage of our local teams. Follow him on Twitter as well, at Peterson_Rick. Joins us at this time every Thursday for the Lewis Toyota Local Sports Spotlight. Appreciate the time, Pistol. Enjoy Weston Turner tomorrow.
I will. Thank you.
That is the great Rick Peterson of TopSports.News. We owe you another break. We'll come back, wrap up this 3 o'clock hour of 580 Sports Talk next. All right, time for a quick either or over under before we wrap up this 3 o'clock hour of the show. Spencer, you're a hockey guy.
Yes.
Either or, NHL playoffs or the field?
NHL playoffs, nothing beats it.
Nothing better?
No, because you get like overtime in playoff hockey is the best. I'm not a big fan of regular season playoff overtime or regular season overtime.
Mm-hmm.
Big fan. It's just like a different atmosphere, and just you pack a barn, as they say.
Yeah.
Pack an arena.
Yeah.
And the rally towels, and I would say vintage because I loved the NBC Sports because it's the cup commercials that they would air.
Oh, yeah.
Those were the best. Like, somebody needs to find a way to do it on TNT and ESPN.
Real quick, if you were picking from the other three, NFL, MLB, NBA, which would be your next favorite playoff?
It would be the NFL.
Yeah, I think so, too. There are too many teams in the playoffs now.
That's why, like, if I had to pick one of the three that have multiple games, it would be the NHL, then the MLB in those categories, but that'd be number 3 for me.
I think both baseball and the NFL have too many teams in the playoffs now, but at the same time, Super Wild Card Weekend delivers every year.
So much fun.
Awesome. So, yeah, I'd put football right there at the top 2. Coming up in the 4 o'clock hour, we'll hear from Matt Quatraro. We've got What Is Wrong With You, and we've got this week's Big 12 breakdown with the great Paul Myerberg, plus your text and your YouTube comments all coming up after the news back here on 580 Sports Talk. go. 4 o'clock hour of 580 Sports Talk getting underway here on the Sports Voice of Kansas. I'm Brendan Dworzinski. On the other side of the glass is Spencer Dupuis. Dan Lucero is now at Kauffman Stadium. The Eagle has landed at the Truman Sports Complex. 7:08 tonight. Do or die time for the Kansas City Royals. Game 4 of the ALDS. If the Royals win, we'll have Game 5 on Saturday. If the Royals lose, the season is over for the boys in blue. Dan will have post-game coverage for you on our website, 580wibw.com, all throughout the game on our Twitter feed at 580 Sports Talk, and you will have an instant reaction post-game show as well on the 580 Sports Talk YouTube channel. So make sure you are watching that as soon as the final pitch is thrown tonight. Here in this 4 o'clock hour of 580 Sports Talk, we're going to hear from Matt Quatraro. He is actually finishing up his media availability right now at the K, but we're going to hear it from the beginning. We'll get to as much as we can from Matt Quatraro and his pregame comments. I'm sure he'll have some thoughts from last night and a look ahead to Michael Wacha's start today. We will hear a little bit from Michael Wacha as well as Michael Massey coming up in the 5 o'clock hour today. We've also got today's What Is Wrong With You coming up, and we will hear from the great Paul Myerberg. He is going to join us for the Big 12 football breakdown coming up in the bottom of the hour. This hour, we are going to talk a little Chiefs. How bizarre is it, Spencer? And I guess this is your first full football season with us on 580 Sports Talk, but just the thought that and I guess it's a bye week, so it makes a little bit more sense. Yeah. But it is
works out perfectly.
It is October 10th. And we're talking about the Royals and more Royals and hearing from the Royals and talking college football. We're not talking a whole lot of Chiefs today, but we'll get our Mitch Holthus fix in the 5 o'clock hour.
I mean, it kind of works out right that we can give this week to the Royals because there's not anything going on. Yeah. And so far, I haven't, nobody's done anything stupid on the bye week.
That's good.
So there's no stories to talk about there.
Yes, that is certainly a positive. When your favorite team is on a bye, let's say the Chiefs are playing in prime time or Monday night or Thursday night or something, right? So you're not worried about watching a game for work. And let's say your favorite team, Washington, is on a bye. How do you watch football? Or is that the weekend where you say, all right, let's get some stuff done around the house?
Combination. We'll go quad box.
Okay.
We'll go quad box on the Sunday ticket since I made that purchase.
There you go.
I got to use the Sunday ticket because I made the purchase.
Yep.
Or we, find Red Zone.
Yeah.
And throw it on and get some stuff done.
Do you not get Red Zone with Sunday ticket?
You have to pay extra for it.
What?
An extra, like a bunch of money extra.
Dog, it's already like a community college tuition to pay for Sunday tickets.
That's what I'm saying. I know. I wish. It'd be sick if they did that, but it's a separate package, actually.
I have Red Zone because I have NFL Plus. I pay for it so I can get, all the stuff from NFL Plus. I don't have Sunday ticket, though. So sometimes on the bye week, I'll throw Red Zone up, but I like Red Zone as an additional feed. Yeah. I like that as kind of a secondary or tertiary option. I like to just have one game on. So I'll just put on whatever the local game we get is on Fox or CBS or whatever. I'm not a huge fan of having just Red Zone up. I know a lot of people are. I am not. We'll find out from Mitch Holthus when we talk to him what his plans are.
Where I was last, I lived close enough to my parents that if the Commanders were on a bye week, I'd just go over to their house and we'd go meet up somewhere and do something as a family because we didn't have to watch football.
I guess it doesn't really matter considering you have Sunday ticket and can watch any game anyway. But I was going to ask, how excited are you that the Commanders are the local game on Sunday?
Wait, they're the local game?
Yeah, they're the biggest early window national game.
Nice.
Yeah, CBS just has the single game this week, and we get Commanders Ravens.
Yeah. I'm kind of happy it's during the day, but I do wish it would have been flexed. But CBS said, no, you're not going to pull this game from us.
It is kind of interesting that Chargers-Broncos, an AFC West game, that's late, and Wichita and West get that game, but Topeka and East get Commanders-Ravens. I don't know why. I'm not going to complain. I'm mostly excited that finally the Packers are the local game as well on Fox.
There you go.
I have had to go exploring in recent weeks to be able to watch Green Bay. So I guess not last week, but I'm very excited. They're going to be our local game. By the way,
I feel like for you, that's few and far between.
It is. Yeah.
Because they're such a big brand.
Yeah. No,
that even if they're not the best, they're still getting Sunday night, Monday night, Thursday night.
You're very right.
Big games that are on during the day.
America's Game of the Week.
Yeah.
No, you're right about that. For what it's worth, the late afternoon game, the Burkhart and Brady game on Fox, Lions Cowboys.
Is it Burkhart?
Yeah.
Is he not?
He doesn't do baseball. Well, I guess he does studio. But yeah, because Fox isn't doing games right now.
That's true.
Well, no,
they're doing.
Everyone has games, I guess.
Yeah, he's a studio host. So I'm assuming he'll do both since he's just a studio host.
Yeah, no,
Joe Davis isn't.
Yes,
Joe
correct.
Davis. So I was talking with our other coworker, Greg. Joe Davis was supposed to be. He is with Olsen, right?
Yes, correct.
It's a 2-team.
Yes.
Well, currently Jason Benetti is with Olsen.
I know. Benetti rules.
Yeah. So I was that's who I had the pleasure of listening to and watching with the Commanders game this past weekend. Yeah.
So we'll all get Lions Cowboys as the late afternoon game coming up on Sunday. All right. That's enough Chiefs talk. We've got to get to the Kansas City Royals. Although Tyler does say on YouTube, 6-0. We dominated this bye week. Yeah. Okay. As long as no one does something stupid, like Spencer said, that counts as a win on the bye week. All right, we got to get to the Royals. We got to get to Matt Quatraro, Royals manager. He is just wrapping up his comments at the K right now ahead of tonight's game. Let's hear from Q. We'll start from the beginning, get you as much of this as we can. We can get audio here. I think we're all good. Perfect. Let's go to the K and let's hear from Matt Quatraro.
Oh, you guys got some good swings, made some good contact early. I mean, how do you go into preparing for adjustments and making sure that your guys are ready to kind of have that same success?
Well, I mean, we know he's tough, and if he executes, he makes that even tougher, but we have to be aggressive. He throws a lot of strikes. You just have to be disciplined that you don't expand the zone with him because that's when he can really get quick outs. But one of our strengths is contact. So hopefully putting solid contact into play and then making him make some adjustments to us.
The walks have stood out against the Yankees lineup. Is that representative of their approach or something you guys are doing that you'd like to see change? How do you kind of assess that?
I think it's a combination. We know, throughout the course of the year, they're very patient. They do take their walks. I think we have also missed locations. We've missed bigger than we normally do. Game 2 is more representative of how we've thrown the ball throughout the course of the year than games 1 and 3. So we need to make that adjustment.
All right. You guys have done a nice job of putting yesterday away, and today is the mantra. How do you practically do that for yourself? What is your way to get that done for you?
Just kind of how I've lived my life. It's not like something I just started to try to do. Putting the emphasis on what's right in front of me, I guess, is what's most important. And, you have to understand there's compartmentalizing. There's a lot of things that go on in life that you have to deal with, but whatever's the immediate thing is the one that you give your attention to and try to prioritize, I guess. And I think that's what's important in this game.
Yeah, Matt, Lynch did a real good job for you late in the year. What is the situation that you're looking for to get him in? We haven't seen him yet.
Yeah, he did a great job for us. It's not that we have not thought about putting him in or don't trust that he could get the job done. A lot of these situations in these first 3 games have unfolded very similarly. And with the off days, we've gone with basically the same guys. Now with back-to-back games today, it could be different. We feel good about him against righties and lefties. So there's certain spots in the order where we would feel really good about that.
Yeah, when it comes to just obviously it's win or go home now, is there any kind of like motivation or anything that you try to give these players? Do you just try to handle it like it's any other game?
Yeah, they're aware of that. There's no message that has to be sent. They understand where we are. And as soon as we got in the clubhouse last night, I heard Salvi say something to the guys, not in a meeting or anything like that, but just a message is billowing voice can be heard, to the guys. But to me, the most important thing is when I came in today, it felt the same as it did at any other point. The music was on, the guys were working out, they're doing their normal routine, and they shouldn't try to play any differently. They understand the urgency of the game, but there's nothing this isn't a game where just trying harder necessarily means you're going to get better results.
What did Sally say?
Just, we'll get him tomorrow. Something simple like that. I don't know exactly what he said. I was in my office, but you can hear his voice throughout the clubhouse, and it wasn't long. It was just something like, hey, keep your heads up, or something simple like that.
This may be kind of odd, but I'm just wondering, as you go through this month, especially during games, are you as calm on the inside as you appear to be?
I would say most of the time. I mean, there's certainly some times where, certain scenarios when we were in Baltimore and it was bases loaded and one out, and whether it was tie game or 1-run game at that point, I certainly was feeling it a little bit. But I do the best I can to just what I was just saying about the players, keep the routines the same, the conversations between the staff the same, so that our decision-making is the same process as it is throughout the course of the year. So try not to get too involved in the crowd or the game situations, and just try to stay focused on what I normally focus on.
Is that a skill you can get better at or refine?
I hope so. Yeah. I mean, this is my first time doing it in this atmosphere. And I hope that as the years go on, you learn to manage things better and understand things better. Now, I will say that a lot of the people that I've been around that have done this for a long time, I mean, you still get caught up in those situations. You still have decisions to make or things to think through. And it doesn't necessarily get easier. You just have more reps at doing it.
With this being an elimination game, do you see it adding any wrinkles to managerial decisions or anything that might come on during the game tonight?
Possibly, yeah. I mean, all hands are on deck. You can't let things play out too far. Try to force some things, offensively if we have the opportunities. But the game's going to be the game. It's got to unfold. You can't make something happen until the players have that in their hands. So that's kind of the beauty of this as well, is there's a lot of things in this game that you have to just let go of, and you don't have control over a lot of it. But the things that you do, you try to put yourself and your players in the best position to succeed.
Q, you've known Michael Wacha for a good bit. Just knowing his temperament and being able to be in this moment, are there things that you kind of look for, maybe non-verbally, that know that he's locked in and will elevate his game?
Well, I feel really good about the fact that he's taken the ball. I mean, he's been through this before numerous times. He's got, 10, 11 plus years in the big leagues. The moment's not going to be too big for him. He trusts his stuff. We trust him. I really feel good about it. So we'll look for all the normal things we do, whether they're high stress innings or whether he's battling himself, those kinds of things. We'll have our eyes on it for sure.
You said it's all hands on deck. Is that everybody available to go in the bullpen tonight?
Yes, absolutely.
We'll look in this session out there.
Good. Yeah, I mean, I only saw Stratton and him, but they both were throwing the ball free and easy.
Cruz and Hernandez both.
And Marsh. Yep. All right. Thank you.
All right, so that is Royals manager Matt Quatraro and his media availability today at the K ahead of pretty huge matchup, to say the least. Biggest Royals game since 2015. Tonight, Royals trying to stay alive. Now, remember, the Royals in the ALDS back in, was it 14 or 15 that they trailed 2-1? I think it was the 2015 ALDS, if I'm not mistaken. So they've been in this situation before. Now, granted, not many of these guys. Salvi is the last man standing from the World Series teams, but you know what I mean. We're trying to talk optimism here. We're trying to talk positivity here.
Yeah. So yesterday, do you know who threw out the first pitch?
I know where you're going with this. I do not know who threw out the first pitch yesterday. It was no, never mind. It was Hosmer, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was
Hosmer.
We just got from Manny Rogers. Zach Greinke will be at the K, and he'll be throwing out the first pitch tonight.
That'll be cool. That'll get the boys fired up.
Yeah.
We know how well respected Zach Greinke was within that clubhouse last year. I mean, he was such an important presence for so many of these young guys, even though he had his own personal struggles on the mound. No, they really looked up to him. He was such an important part of that clubhouse the previous 2 years through a lot of losing baseball. So that'll be cool. And I know the K is going to give him a raucous ovation tonight. That's going to be really cool.
Yeah. I'll have a little tease for you about Michael Massey. That'll be airing after we talk to Mitch. Apparently he's a big Weather Channel guy. I don't know if you've seen this tweet going around.
Michael Massey's a big Weather Channel guy?
Yeah, Michael Massey.
Okay.
And,
I've not seen this tweet.
He talks about his daily routine, and it involves watching the Weather Channel.
Sounds like Nick Saban. Nick Saban, in his entire life, until he became a talking head at ESPN, which is so funny, loved three things: eating oatmeal cream pies in the morning, watching the Weather Channel before he went to coach at 5 a.m. or whatever, and then coaching football.
Yeah.
Some people are just weather people. Mike Trout, same way. Mike Trout loves weather. I'll check the weather. There are so many days, though, that I wake up and I'll leave the house and think, damn, it's cold. Or, wow, it is so hot. Why did I dress like this? Oh, yeah, I didn't even bother to check the weather. Yeah. So I'm good for Michael Massey. You know where he's from off the top of your head?
No.
Wrong. Well, you didn't even give an answer. Palos Park, Illinois. That's like 25 minutes from where I grew up.
Okay.
It's right near where my grandparents lived when I was a kid. Yeah. So I always root for the Illinois guys. Michael Massey, formerly Nicky Lopez when he was Royal. Always loved when those guys showed out. We've got plenty more to get to on 580 Sports Talk today. We've got What Is Wrong With You coming up on the other side of the break. We'll talk to Paul Myerberg later on this hour for the Big 12 breakdown. Also, Spencer's going to have you solo for the final hour of the program. I've got to get out of here at 5 o'clock because I've got the Washburn Football Coaches Show with Craig Schurig coming up starting at 6 o'clock at Skinny's Sports Bar and Grill. Busy 5 o'clock hour on the show. Mitch Holthus is going to join the program. We'll hear from Michael Massey, as Spencer just mentioned. He'll have his 580 Sports Talk headlines to get to as well. One of which, teased in the YouTube comments just now, our pal Jayhawker mentioned that the Big 12 basketball poll was released for the preseason today. We will be getting to that in headlines because two individuals, one at KU, one at K-State, also received some individual honors from the preseason. Technically, two KU players. We'll tell you what we mean coming up at the top of the 5 o'clock hour today. We still want to hear from you, either on the YouTube stream. 580 Sports Talk is where you can find us on YouTube. The link for that is at our website, 580wibw.com. You can also text into the show, 785-272-9429. That is the Top City Metal Supply text line. We'll get to a break, and we'll get to What Is Wrong With You coming up on the other side of this timeout right here on 580 Sports Talk. What is wrong with you time on 580 Sports Talk on this Thursday afternoon? Brendan Dworzinski, Spencer Dupuis here with you. I want to get this in because I don't know when I was going to say it any other time on the show because we're kind of tight on time. Happy birthday to my dad.
Happy birthday, Mr. Dworzinski.
It's my dad's birthday today. Shares a birthday with the guy who at one point in time was like the biggest superhero in my whole life, Brett Favre.
Wow.
Born 14 years apart, but
I like the once.
Yeah, I don't really look up to Brett these days. That's soured a little bit.
Yeah.
I think it's fair to say. But I want to make sure to give my dad a shout out. Not really the best timing to do that during What Is Wrong With You, but so be it. Here we are. Our current winner for the week, Spencer. Have you seen my wieners? The stabbing at the Georgia nursing home over Vienna sausages. I'm going to just tell you right now, there is absolutely no reason to ever stab someone over something like a Vienna sausage. No reason, not ever. Do not do that. Very, very bad. That is our current winner for the week. Why don't you lead us off today, Spencer, with your story?
All right, let's go to Stillwater, Oklahoma. 2 wrongs don't make a right for an Oklahoma man who is facing vehicle theft charges. According to a Facebook post from the Oklahoma Highway Patrol, Cody Adams is accused of stealing an emergency vehicle in order to make it to court in time from a previous stolen vehicle charge. This is a quote from the trooper said of the incident. Here's one you don't see every day. Trooper said late last month, Adams was at a gas station in Stillwater asking people for a ride to court in Pawnee County, where he was scheduled to appear. When he couldn't get a ride, Adams allegedly stole a LifeNet ambulance supervisor vehicle, which was a Ford F-150 pickup. He allegedly stole that vehicle that had been left running with no one inside. He made it to the courthouse and ditched the vehicle, officials said, but he was spotted by a trooper who arrested Adams. Adams admitted to borrowing the vehicle, according to the Facebook post. The troopers escorted him to his court date, then took him right back to the Payne County Jail on new charges. Facebook commenters were amazed at how dedicated he was to get to his court date.
I'm amazed he was so dedicated. Many just don't show, one commenter wrote. The irony of the situation is vaguely amusing, but the reality of someone having so few options that they feel desperate enough to do that is really sad, writes another. That's one word for it. I would say that's at least one word for it. All right, so that is Spencer's story for today. My story is going to take us to Coral Springs, Florida, and we meet, I believe she is 45 years old, Betsy Budrowitz. So back on October 5th, the Coral Springs PD responded to a domestic violence call at a residence on Royal Palm Boulevard. According to the caller, a verbal argument between a husband and wife over alleged infidelity escalated into a physical altercation. All right, well, that's not good. According to the initial report from the police, however, a woman later identified as Budrowitz of Coral Springs was watching TV with her husband when Budrowitz reportedly became irate after seeing a woman on the screen referencing Blanchard's previous affair with a different woman. She was upset about a previous affair involving her husband, Blanchard, in this case. This is a poorly written piece, but that's his name. And she got mad about it. It reminded her of the bad days. Records of the conversation provided by the victim allege that Budrowitz began yelling. So I'm not even going to repeat this. Just know she used a word that begins with an F and then a word that begins with an N. Yikes.
Whoa.
Yikes. Not good at all. The victim stated that Budrowitz then demanded that he leave the residence. While he was packing his belongings, Budrowitz began throwing various items at him. According to the victim, the situation then turned physical as Budrowitz started scratching and biting him on several parts of his body, including his back, arms, and neck. Officers at the scene observed injuries on the victim consistent with his account. The victim declined medical assistance and said he had defended himself and restrained Budrowitz from further attacking him. Budrowitz was visibly upset when officers arrived and initially refused to provide any information and appeared incoherent. Eventually, she did confirm they were arguing over infidelity, but claimed it was her husband who was the aggressor, who had forcibly taken her to the ground and held her there. She could not provide any details, though, about how she was pinned or how the victim got his injuries. Responding officers observed Budrowitz had minor red markings and a little dried blood, but that was all. No medical treatment was provided to either. After an investigation, Budrowitz was indeed determined to be the aggressor, and she was transported to Broward County Main Jail after arrest. So, I am going to vote for this story, Spencer, because it's extreme. This is a weird inbred cousin of the story we had a couple years ago, in which a woman stabbed her husband when she saw a photo of him with a different woman. Only it turned out that woman was her, but many years prior. She literally forgot what she looked like when they first got married and stabbed her husband over it. This is like the weird cousin to that.
Yeah.
Man, she dropped some real racist language here. This is aggressive. So that's going to get my vote for today. Which one do you have?
I got to go with that. Just way too aggressive of a lady.
Yeah, like maybe you shouldn't have gotten back together with your husband if you're still this upset about the affair.
Yeah.
Maybe you should have just let that one die. All right, so that wins today, but does that beat Have You Seen My Wieners?
I don't know. This might be a legit contender against it of the between yesterday and today.
Yeah, this is a good battle. I am going to vote for our returning champion. I'm going to go champion's advantage here.
Yeah.
Like, stabbing itself, not funny. Stabbing over sausage, a little bit funny. This woman is really terrible. She's the one in our story from today. Really awful person. I think I'm going to go with our reigning champion in a close one. Down to the wire, but I'll pick the reigning champ.
I'm with you.
All right. Have you seen my wieners? It advances on another day here on What Is Wrong With You. Coming up next, Paul Myerberg, the great Paul Myerberg, national college football reporter for USA Today. He will join us for the Big 12 football breakdown. That's coming up on the other side of this commercial break here on 580 Sports Talk. It's time for one of our favorite parts of the week here on 580 Sports Talk, and that means it's the Big 12 Breakdown with Paul Myerberg of USA Today. He covers all things college football for America's newspaper, joins us as we break down our favorite conference in college football. But Paul, before we get to the Big 12 for this week, I do need to ask you one question about the biggest game from a week ago. Rather, what Alabama is going to do this week. Do you feel like that loss to Vanderbilt a week ago was a sign of a broken program, or should I bet on them to cover a 21-point spread against South Carolina this week?
Oh, yeah, I would bet on them to cover for sure. I think the symptom that is going on right now with Alabama, to me, is pretty clear. This is an issue for DeBoer going back to Washington, going back to Fresno State. It didn't get up and bite him at Washington, though you remember in the semis that they had a big lead and then they continued to let Texas back into the game and almost lost it on the final play. They play an offensive style that is not conducive at times to putting teams away. They don't have a 4-minute or a 6-minute offense. So when Vanderbilt has the ball for 40 minutes and you can't get your defense off the field, when you have the ball, you're running 6-play, 5-play drives, taking up a minute, 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes. That's a problem. It wasn't a problem in the Pac-12. I foresee it being a problem in the SEC. So I don't think there's anything program-wide that's different other than the fact that you just replaced the greatest coach to ever do it. But in terms of game by game, they've got to find a way to manufacture extended drives in the SEC because it's a different world here, and DeBoer needs to figure that out. Like, you cannot trot out an offense that is quick play, quick strike. I mean, it worked against Georgia late, but again, like you saw in the second half against Georgia, like they couldn't get Georgia off the field, and they couldn't keep Georgia off the field because that's the way they play offense. So I know we don't want to talk too much about the tie, but that's an issue to me that they need to address. Play that way in the Big 12, you go 13-0. Play that way in the SEC, you might go 9-4. So I think Alabama has to figure that out and figure out a way to manufacture extended drives that can keep teams on the sideline and prevent a team like Vanderbilt from getting hot and staying hot.
I think those Vandy fans might still be treading through Nashville right now, carrying those goalposts around. What a moment for that program. But let's get from the SEC and that game a week ago to the Big 12. And we are at kind of a pause, if you will, for our local programs. K-State's in action this week, taking on Colorado. We'll get to that game in a moment. But they were off this past week. KU, I wish, had been off last week. That was soul-crushing. They are off this week. They need a break as much as any team in the country right now. But as we stand here just about the halfway point of the season, Paul, who would you say at this moment is the best team in the Big 12?
I mean, my view hasn't changed on Kansas State. I know Iowa State has played very well. I know BYU is a nice story. I know Texas Tech is starting to look better. I mean, they're still winning, but looking a little bit better doing it. Kansas State's the best team, the most complete team, and that to me is the case, especially if Cam Rising's not playing for Utah. Kansas State is a team that has shown they can win in a couple different ways, but they're clearly at their best when they can pound you and set up that running game. And I look at them and I think this is the team with the most potential. Think of it a different way. Of all the teams currently in the race to win the Big 12, realistically, Kansas State's the one team that I think could win a game in the playoffs. I don't get that feeling from any other team in this bracket unless they get lucky and get a good matchup. I think Kansas State's the best team in the league, probably for that reason. They match up the best nationally with the teams that you might face in January or December. So I'm still going Wildcats. We'll talk about this game on Saturday. They need to make sure they have no more slip-ups to make sure they make the Big 12 championship game. But if you ask me today to bet on one of these guys, I think Kansas State's the most complete team and then the best team.
I am right there with you on Kansas State. The team that I picked, though, my co-hosts picked K-State to win the conference before the year. I said they'd finish second behind Utah. And obviously, you lose a quarterback as good as Cam Rising, you're obviously not going to be as good as you expected. That being said, do you think, Paul, we've seen the last of Cam Rising? And that would crush me because I love watching the dude play. Obviously, he means a lot to that Ute program. But the classic caginess from Kyle Whittingham now leading into, over the last few days, well, maybe it's just going to be Isaac Wilson's job going forward, does not make me feel very good about the playing future for Cam Rising.
Yes, I absolutely agree. I think the reports that you've seen the last few weeks have gotten progressively worse because it went from, I'm not going to remember the name of the game. It might have been Oklahoma State. He was dressed and he was there. So then you're like, okay, look, if you dress a QB, especially for a travel game, I mean, that means he's close. That means that you might need to use him. So that to me made me feel good. But like you're saying, like every week you're hearing, well, could be another week after this. might not be until a couple more weeks. He might not get the job this season. Like, you got to read between the lines. I don't feel very good about Utah getting Rising back, at least in the near future. And by extension, I don't really feel good about the Utes without Rising. They're a good team. Like, this is a 9-win team. It's like a Holiday Bowl team, whatever the tie-in is. But without Rising, they are a different team. But again, like, when you're Kyle Whittingham and you've been to 2 Rose Bowls the last several years, you're a historic figure at that program, you're going to College Football Hall of Fame, you have all the leash in the world. I understand the appeal, if you like Isaac Wilson, to say, hey, this is our guy. And he's going to be the guy until we don't think that he can get the job done. And we don't think that he's improving. So I think there's a benefit to it. I just don't want to say, because it's so wishy-washy about Rising. But I think we can all agree, if he's not there, they're a different team. And that's great news for Kansas State. Because Utah is a team, if they're playing their best, that's a tough matchup for everybody. Certainly a tough matchup for K-State.
Paul Myerberg is our guest, national college football writer for USA Today. He joins us every Thursday at this time for the Big 12 football breakdown on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline. All right, Paul, let's get into this week's action, and let's get to that K-State game on the road in Boulder, taking on Coach Prime and the Buffaloes. First time K-State has been out there to see you in a long time. Obviously, the Buffs had moved from the Big 12 and Big 8 over to the Pac-12 for a while there. What needs to be different about this Mountain Time road game for K-State compared to the one they lost against BYU, in which I think K-State was certainly the better team, but things spiraled out of control at a pace that I don't know that we've ever seen before with a Kansas State program post-Snyder. What has to be different about the Cats' approach this weekend?
Yeah, look, like they've got to look in the rearview mirror to know what it means to go on the road at night in a pretty rough environment and not bring your A game mentally. So I feel good about this road trip. Look, I think there are 2 ways to look at this game. One is just with my own 2 eyes. I've seen these 2 teams. I know what they're about. And I don't know how you look at this matchup and think Kansas State's not going to hammer them, and not just hammer them in a way that the past 2 teams that Colorado has played have not been able to. Obviously, UCF with a little bit more finesse that played in Colorado's hands. Baylor is garbage, so that doesn't mean anything. Kansas State, if they play their game, should win this by 14. I mean, that's just me. Then I look at the line. K-State minus 3.5. That scares me to death, guys. It was 4. Already down to 3.5. That scares me. That means there's something here that I don't get. So I'm thinking about why this game is being viewed by Vegas as so close. Maybe it's because Colorado has been hot. Maybe. Maybe it's because they don't think K-State in the back end can guard Colorado. Maybe. It worries me. I don't know what it is they're seeing, because when I look at these 2 teams, like I said, I see a Kansas State double-digit win. And I will predict that they'll do that. There has to be something I'm missing. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts, but there's got to be something here why Colorado is basically, not a favorite, but they're basically, getting a lot more credit than I thought they would get at this point.
And I was wondering, Paul, if the reason why was simply so many people want to buy into this Colorado team, and now that they've won a couple games in a row and then had a bye week in there as well, it's giving bettors, it's giving people in the desert a reason to believe in Colorado. But that being said, I wanted to follow up with this question. Do you think this Colorado team is real? Like the last 2 games they played before their bye, do they feel like that is a real development for this Buffaloes program? Because beating Baylor, a team who you just referred to accurately, in my opinion, as garbage, that doesn't really impress me when you beat them on a Hail Mary. The play was impressive. That win, not so much. Then they go and trounce UCF at the Bounce House in Orlando. But, and I don't want to make too many excuses here, but that is the Gus Malzahn special, right? Everyone said, oh yeah, UCF going to run all over them with RJ Harvey and KJ Jefferson, Penny Boone, all that. And then Gus Malzahn's team just completely blows it. Go ask Auburn fans. They know all about that. So I don't know that I'm buying in on this team actually having taken a step forward. Are you at that point with Colorado, Paul?
Well, I am, because look, like, everything's relative, right? Like, we saw where they were last year. We saw where they've been. We saw where they were against Nebraska. So I think they have definitely improved. And I like, in a different place, different program, you say, oh, well, they've got a lot of confidence. I never thought Colorado lacked for confidence since Deion got there. So I don't think that's it. But I do think that UCF on the road, despite the fact that UCF then lost to Florida, who's pretty average, shifted a lot of perception about this team. And it certainly, for me, at the very minimum, shifted them from being a 5-win borderline bowl team to probably being a 6-win team. Only thing I would say to add to that is, a couple weeks ago, We said that, after Nebraska, maybe these are just bad matchups. When you get in the Big 12, they'll look better, and I think they're proving that point. Having said that, that Nebraska team is a lot like Kansas State. They're just not as good as Kansas State. The things that Nebraska does, certainly Nebraska defensively is a lot better. But the things that Nebraska wants to do on offense, Kansas State can do better, a lot better. So that's another reason why I look back at that game against another physical team, and I don't like this matchup for Colorado. And I think Kansas State can at least look at that blueprint, being careful with the football, keeping plays in front of you, and hammering them from tackle to tackle. That's kind of in their playbook, and I think that's in their wheelhouse. So Colorado's a nice story. Let's get real. I don't think they're at the point now where they can be the top 15, top 12 team like Kansas State.
Paul Myerberg is our guest. He covers college football for USA Today, America's newspaper, and joins us every Thursday here on 580 Sports Talk for the Big 12 football breakdown. We don't need to spend a lot of time on KU, Paul. I mean, this team is bad. They needed to win, well, frankly, pretty much all of their games in recent memory. This one, especially against Arizona State, couldn't get it done. And I think for myself, it was the most soul-crushing of all of them because the offense actually played pretty well. They scored 31 points on the road in 1,000-degree temperatures. Jalen Daniels wasn't especially efficient, but was more than good enough. They were able to score and move the ball, and it was the defense that just completely gave the game away. I'm just sort of at a loss with this team. I know Arizona State is better than we expected them to be going into the year, but I don't really see personally a way out of this rut for this KU team. Maybe there's a big change after the bye this Saturday, but I have a hard time seeing a path out.
Yeah, they've got to get some momentum going because I don't want to even underestimate the damage reputationally for this program if they go 3-9 and they finish near the bottom of the Big 12. That is such an enormous step back. It's too much for me to think about. But clearly, this is not a team that knows how to win anymore. I thought they had learned how to do that. They learned how to close out games or get into a shootout and be comfortable and get that last stop, get that last score. They've forgotten how to do that. And for the life of me, I can't figure it out. And I think you're 100% correct. UNLV to me was the loss of the season. Like it was hard to look at that game and think, wow, they're going to lose one worse than that. This was worse because the offense looked good. And Jalen Daniels, compared to what he's been, he was Caleb Williams compared to what he's been the first 5 games. You give up 300 yards rushing, though, without Arizona State being that exotic. It's not like they are like early 2010s Oregon, where you have no idea what's happening. I don't think there's anything particularly exotic about it. It's not vanilla. That's not cutting edge. They just can't stop them. So you look at a team that can't juggle 2 balls at once. They have no idea how to close. They are thinking at this point, I would expect in that locker room, that if a game gets in the fourth quarter and it's tight, that they're going to lose. You talk to enough coaches in this sport, if your team actually has that thought somewhere deep in the recesses of their mind, forget it. Cancel the season. For Kansas State, they need a bye more than any team in the country, like you said. And they also need Houston. Houston's a nice matchup in 9 days. So hopefully they regroup on Saturday, get back against Houston, and get at least a win under their belt before they face the actually tough part of their schedule, which is K-State, Iowa State, BYU. So it's not going to get a whole lot better. But yeah, take a breath. Draw a bath, have a glass of white wine, watch something on Netflix, and get your mind right. Because they've got to regroup in the second half just to get to respectability and avoid that kind of, oh, here's Kansas, KU's back, that kind of mindset. That's really damaging for those guys.
Everyone in the world was screaming at their televisions on Saturday night, the ball is going to Cam Scadaboo, myself included, and yet they couldn't do anything about it. Just an incredibly maddening game. As for the rest of this week's schedule, again, KU thankfully off. We've been over K-State at Colorado coming up on Saturday night. What other game in the Big 12 is the most interesting for you this weekend?
Yeah, so Friday night is pretty cool. I think Utah at Arizona State. You're already seeing, I think, some shift in opinion. I think Arizona State, I don't think I'm going to pick them to win. It's a really fun matchup. And I think it's a moment for Arizona State, even though it's late at night, to make a big statement and show that, hey, we've turned a corner. But guys, to me, Iowa State at West Virginia is the danger game of the week, like nationally. If you're a college football playoff contender and you're not playing, Ohio State or Oregon, this is a game that scares me. Iowa State is, I believe, they're 2-3 in Morgantown since West Virginia joined the league. They've lost their last 2. I look at this game against a West Virginia team that has been playing really well. Not just like sneaking by. Like, I understand some games are close. They've actually looked really good, I think, in recent weeks. It's a statement game for them, prime time. national TV. It's danger zone time for Iowa State. I think they're a really good team. I think they might be a 10-win team, but I'm picking at West Virginia to win this one because I do think that home field advantage and the opportunity that this presents for the Mountaineers puts Iowa State in trouble. Having said that, if they win this game, this is like the game I think they will lose or could lose before they get to those final two, Utah, Kansas State. So be prepared next week if they win, and we start talking about Iowa State as like how much of a lock for an at-large bid is this team? How close are we to that point? We'll talk next week. I don't think they win, but if they do, it's a seismic kind of win in terms of impact on the playoff.
All right, Paul, it's our favorite way to end this chat every single week. Got to get to the dumpster juice pick of the week. We're going to my beloved Mid-America Conference, the MAC. We've got Akron at Western Michigan. This is not especially pleasant.
We got Ball State and Kent State, don't we? I mean, that's got to be. Isn't that the game? I'm sorry, we got to call an audible here. Ball State at Kent State is one of the worst games in football history. Kent State's like historically bad.
That's true.
Let's do both.
But let's do it.
Taking Ball State for number one, and it's got to be Western Michigan. I like Joe Moorhead has he's on the back of a milk carton. We still do milk cartons. I haven't seen a milk carton in like 15 years. But if he's his career has gone from I'm the head coach of Mississippi State in the SEC to I'm at Akron and I'm 1-5 and I'm awful. Okay, Western Michigan, Ball State, book it. Don't bet on it, but just book it. But it's just between us. I feel really good about it.
We have hotline numbers in case you are betting on those games. There are numbers you can call if you need some help with that. Paul Myerberg helps us out, informs us about everything we need to know about college football in the Big 12 every Thursday on the Big 12 Football Breakdown via the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline. Paul, we love the time as always, man. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll talk to you next week.
Okay, guys. Talk next week. Thanks.
Nobody in the business does it better than the one and only Paul Myerberg. He joins us every Thursday for the Big 12 Breakdown. We've got to get to a break. I've got to get out of here. I've got the Washburn Football Coaches Show from Skinny Sports Bar and Grill coming up at 6 o'clock. Again, live at Skinny's at the corner of Huntington and Gage. Spencer's got you the rest of the way. He'll wrap up this 4 o'clock hour, chat with Mitch Holthus, get you some headlines, and we will hear from Michael Massey all coming up as we round out this Thursday edition ahead of some Royals baseball on 580 Sports Talk.
Final hour of 580 Sports Talk here. As we get you going on this final hour of 580 Sports Talk. Youngest in charge movement here. Spencer Dupuis, happy to have you with me for this final hour of the show. We'll get you some headlines here in this segment. Next segment, we'll talk to Mitch Holthus, see what he is up to for his bye week, see what kind of fun things he's got going on for his bye week. Then we'll play back audio from Michael Massey's pregame presser earlier today. I mentioned earlier, kind of funny. He mentions his daily routine. It involves watching the Weather Channel, and he's especially in tune now with the weather going on. And then we'll also play back some clips from Michael Wacha, not to be confused with Michael Massey. Michael Wacha, the Game 4 starter tonight, a do or die game for the Royals tonight at the K. Dan Lucero will have you covered on all the social medias platforms tonight for us. 580 Sports Talk on YouTube for a post-game instant reaction. And then at 580 Sports Talk on Twitter, he'll have you with live updates from the game, as it's a do or die game for the Royals tonight. Shall be an interesting game. We'll kick things off here in the 5 o'clock hour with the Big 12 men's basketball preseason awards coming out today, as Kansas, in no shocker whatsoever, was selected as the favorite for the Big 12 men's basketball preseason poll, marking the 20th time in 28 seasons the Jayhawks have sat atop the preseason poll. KU's Hunter Dickinson was voted as a preseason player of the year by conference head coaches for the second consecutive year. Baylor's Jeremy Roach and K-State's Coleman Hawkins share the preseason co-newcomer of the year honors. The Bears' VJ Ejikome was named preseason freshman of the year. The Jayhawks enter the season as the preseason favorite for the second consecutive year and were closely followed by Houston, who has ranked second in the preseason poll in both of its seasons in the Big 12. Iowa State, Baylor, Arizona round out the top five. Dickinson was a consensus All-American in 2023-2024, earning Big 12 Newcomer of the Year and Big 12 First Team honors. The center led the Big 12 with 10.8 rebounds a contest, ranked second in the conference with 17.9 scoring average. It's the fifth time since 2017-2018 a Kansas player has earned preseason player of the year honors. Talk about Coleman Hawkins. He averaged 12.1 points, 6.1 assists, and 6.1 rebounds and 2.7 assists at Illinois in 2023-2024 as the Illini advanced to the Elite Eight. A wing, Hawkins starts his KU career just 21 points shy of 1,000 for his career. He's the first K-State player to earn a share of the Big 12 preseason newcomer of the year. As you look at the first team selections, there was just that one Kansas player in Hunter Dickinson, the unanimous selection, as he was named Big 12 preseason player of the year. The other Big 12, all Big 12 second team, that includes Kansas's DeJuan Harris Jr. He's the another returning starter for the Jayhawks. And Coleman Hawkins from K-State earns not only the co-newcomer of the year, but also a second-team preseason nod. We rounded out the top five for you. Cincinnati comes in at 6th in the preseason poll. Texas Tech 7th. Kansas State 8th. BYU 9th. TCU 10th. UCF 11th. Arizona State 12th. West Virginia 13th. Oklahoma State 14th. Colorado 15th. And Utah 16th. So again, that all the awards are voted by the league's 16 head coaches who cannot vote for their own player, but obviously huge for Hunter Dickinson to get the preseason player of the year honor, but not surprising. I am not surprised that he got the preseason all Big 12 nod and the preseason player of the year nod. Let's stay in college football here for this second headline. Utah, according to Brett McMurphy of Action Network, Utah quarterback Cam Rising will start Friday at Arizona State, sources told Action Sports Network. He hasn't played since September 7th versus Baylor when he injured his ring finger on his throwing hand, which required stitches. So he's missed Utah's last 3 games. That is huge for Utah to get back. Cam Rising could lead them to victory versus Arizona State, who just got a big win over Kansas last weekend as they were able to hold on. This big news coming out of the Big 12 football side of things. Obviously, KU off this week for K-State. They have to go to Colorado for a Big 12 after dark game Saturday night, 9:15 kickoff on the network of ESPN. That's huge. That is Dylan Edwards returning to the last school that he played for. And I think it's huge that Dylan Edwards, in fact, he was actually this week. Deion Sanders gave very good words about him. We talked about that yesterday with Tim Fitzgerald, GoPowerCat.com. But a coach that doesn't like it when players leave, doesn't like it when his players don't play well, doesn't like it when the media asks him certain questions, was actually positive about Dylan Edwards leaving, and he's happy to welcome him back this weekend. He said, paraphrasing here, he said he doesn't want him to do well this weekend. He wants him to do well against every other team but his team. But very nice words there from Buffs head coach Deion Sanders, who has not necessarily been the nicest of head coaches when it comes to in press conferences saying things in those press conferences. Let's get to another headline here. We'll go around the NFL once again, as it's a Thursday, so we've got some injury reports. But this big one is we've got a new play caller for the New York Jets, as expected, under interim head coach Jeff Ulbrich. He announced Todd Downing will be the team's new play caller this weekend, thus eliminating the play calling. He demoting Hackett from the play calling, and Nathaniel Hackett is a Rodgers guy, so that is huge. I think that's huge news today because Aaron Rodgers, he's a big time Hackett guy. One of the main reasons why Rodgers wanted to be traded to the Jets last year was his close relationship with Hackett. The new play caller is Todd Downing, a former Tennessee Titans offensive coordinator who coaches the quarterbacks and holds the title of passing game coordinator. He will have, quote, the full say on the game plan and ultimately the plays that are called within the game, end quote, Ulbrich said, hoping to spark the offense that ranks 27th in yards per game. Quote, this is more a byproduct of a different take on things, he said, explaining the rationale. Quote, I'm not saying it's better or worse take on things by any means, but it's just a different take on things, a fresh approach. Hackett will remain on the staff in an undisclosed role. Ulbrich said no titles will change, only roles. Also announced that he will remain the defensive coordinator and will continue to call the defensive play calls. He hopes to be involved in the offense in time, looking to, quote, infuse my personality, end quote, into that unit. The key to the shakeup, of course, is how it plays with Rodgers. Ulbrich said he discussed it with the 4-time MVP, who gave public support. Quote, I knew there'd be a change after they let Robert go, end quote. I had conversations with Brick over the last 2 days. I knew what he was thinking about, leaning towards it and moving. And I told him I'd bag him up, whatever he decided. Rodgers declined to say whether he felt the change was necessary. Quote, nothing. That's not something for me to have an opinion on, he said. Hackett wasn't available to media. Rodgers said it's a, quote, tough situation for Hackett, but praised him for wanting to, quote, stick around to be here for me and for Todd and support Todd. So it's a credit to the man that he is, end quote. Rodgers said he has a great relationship with Downing, though it remains to be seen how it plays out if an unconventional dynamic. It's an unconventional dynamic to be certain. Some other news in the NFL world today. It appears that players not spotted in practice this week. So this, according to Field Yates, players not spotted or officially did not practice through 2 practices this week. Giants wide receiver Malik Neighbors, who I believe missed last week, if I remember correctly. Colts running back Jonathan Taylor. Bills running back James Cook. Wednesday was a bonus practice because they play Monday Night Football, so there's still a good chance he could play. Colts wide receiver Josh Downs. Patriots running back Ramondre Stevenson also did not practice, as well as Saints receiver Rashid Shaheed, who we saw on Monday Night Football against the Chiefs. That's used to a lot of big players, a lot of players owned by a lot of fantasy people that have made big impacts this season could be out once again this week. But again, that's all to be determined, as it's just Thursday. They got one more day of practice before they have to officially designate they have to designate what it would be for the game, what their statuses would be for the game. So we move on here to some more headlines this evening. We're in the 5 o'clock hour. With the hurricane Hurricane Milton down in Florida, there was a lot of damage last night to Tropicana Field, the Rays Stadium. The whole top basically got blown off, not literally blown off, but it's kind of a fabric topping, and it was just destroyed. The Rays are asking for patience while assessing the stadium damage. The roof ripped to shreds from the force of Hurricane Milton. The team said no one was injured when the ballpark was struck by the storm Wednesday night. A quote handful of essential personnel were in Tropicana Field as the roof panels were blown apart, with much of the debris falling onto the field and the seats below. Quote, over the coming days and weeks, we expect to be able to assess the true condition of Tropicana Field. In the meantime, we are working with law enforcement to secure the building, and we ask your patience at this time. We encourage those who can to donate to organizations in our community that are assisting those directly impacted by the storms. Again, prayers to everybody down in Florida who's dealing with Hurricane Milton. I know a few people, myself, that are down in Florida. It's good to see that they have marked themselves as safe with the Facebook feature today. Also, we got big time news in the NBA as Danny Green has called it quits, retiring from the NBA. He won titles with 3 different teams. After 15 seasons, he is hanging it up. He said on his podcast today he's one of 4 players in NBA history to win a championship with 3 different teams. 2014, he won with the Spurs. 2019, he won with the Raptors. And in the COVID bubble in 2020, he won with the Lakers. He said, quote, I'm officially moving on from the game of basketball, the NBA. It's been a great run. To me, I'm very proud to be able to walk away from the game. I'm at peace with it. He's 37. He was known as obviously a 3-point marksman. He finished with a career average of 40% behind the arc, and a leader in the locker room, of course. He played 2 games for the 76ers last season before he was waived following the trade that sent James Harden to the Clippers. He was drafted in the second round by the Cavs in 2009, and he hangs it up, officially announcing it this afternoon or today on his podcast. As we continue through this headlines segment, we'll get to this next one here from the world of tennis. I'm not a big tennis fan, but I do, see the clips from time to time, watch some of the big time events. But we have some big retirement news from there, as well as Rafael Nadal has announced he will retire from tennis at the end of the year. His career highlights include 22 Grand Slams, 14 French Open titles, 92 ATP titles, 36 Masters. Oh, yeah. And he's got that gold. He is an Olympic gold medalist. So Rafael Nadal, he is going to hang up the racket at the end of this year. He will be 30. He is 38, just turned 38. So he will hang it up at the end of this year. As we wrap things up here on this segment, We'll hit the break. When we come back, we'll be joined by Mitch Holthus, voice of the Chiefs. It's a bye week, but we'll still have Mitch on the show. We'll wrap up Monday night's win over the Saints, and then we'll ask him his bye week plans. That's coming up next right here. The Youngest in Charge Movement, 580 Sports Talk on 580 WIBW. Welcome back to the Thursday edition of 580 Sports Talk, and I know a lot of you guys are ready to hear from Mitch Holthus. Mitch Holthus's appearances here on 580 Sports Talk, they are brought to you by Hy-Vee and Azura Credit Union. Contact Crystal Rippey, Kristen McCall, or Kristen Amblebergy about the credit union advantage in getting your first or next home loan. We're joined by Mitch Holthus. Mitch, a great win Monday night for the Chiefs.
Well, and finally getting some offensive volume so everybody can relax a little bit. It wasn't a one-score game. That helped everybody's heart health. And the fact that you got, again, some offensive volume, I think made everybody feel a little bit better about this one.
You talk about offensive volume, a lot of volume in the hands of running back Kareem Hunt, who got the start in the game. He also carried the ball at volume 27 times and got over 100 yards with a score. What has his return meant for this Chiefs team?
Well, it has gone from, this might be a luxury, he can fill in, and I was totally wrong. I would have lost bets in the last 2 weeks about how many carries he was going to get. And honestly, I think it just became part of the game. I mean, I don't think that was the plan going in to give it to him 27 times. But he now has become an absolute necessity. This isn't, oh gosh, Kareem's back and see what he can do. It's like, holy cow, let's get Kareem 3-digit rushing total and weapon in the red zone. And that 5-yard touchdown was awesome. Although the offensive line was eating early in that game. It was great to see that as well.
Did we just turn back the clock Monday night? Because Juju Smith-Schuster decided to go off as well. 7 catches, 130 yards on the night. And, he's talked about his knees not being the same guy that he was just a few years ago, but he dominated when he got the ball on Monday night.
You can look outside at Huntoon Hill and look over the landscape and think of all the people out there. None of the 3 happiest people right now on the earth are 1, Kareem Hunt, 2, Juju Smith-Schuster, and 3, Samaje Perine. And the Chiefs Kingdom is also happy to have them. Juju Smith-Schuster is so thrilled to be back. So is Kareem Hunt. The culture of the Chiefs, I'm going to do a minute with Mitch on it. I didn't do it this week on Channel 13. I focused on the schedule and why this bye week is so important. But I am going to do one on culture because all 3 of those guys I have talked to, and all 3 have been around the block, 2 and 3 teams. Juju last year was with New England. Of course, he had his glory years with Pittsburgh, at least his high volume years. But Juju is so happy to be back. And he felt terrible about dropping that pick in the end zone. That was on him. That's catchable. But he didn't stop. He came right on firing. And again, we got to be careful not to think, hey, he's going to be a 1,200-yard receiver. We just need to know that Juju's got a chance to be very, very impactful on this team and help them win.
And by way of getting 130 yards in receiving, he helped Patrick Mahomes get over 330 yards through the air. And minus that pick that you just talked about, Patrick Mahomes looked more like the Patrick Mahomes that everybody has known over the last couple of seasons.
Yeah, and this pick wasn't necessarily on him. Maybe, I don't know, decision-wise. And I don't know if that was an option route or RPO, or he could have given it off to Kareem Hunt. But still, yeah, no, I think it's just a matter of him getting comfortable now, realizing I don't have Hollywood Brown. I don't have Rashee Rice. I don't have Isaiah Pacheco. What do I have? And then am I getting more comfortable with Wanye Morris? Am I getting more comfortable with Juwan Taylor on the outside on my right? And I think all of that comes into play here as we move forward. And again, it's not going to be anybody winning your fantasy league. It's going to be all hands on deck with everybody who can touch the ball, which happened again the other night. But Pat's also better when he can spread it around. 8 guys touched it by halftime. And Justin Watson will get a touch soon, probably San Francisco game, and maybe Sky Moore. I don't know. And he did touch the kickoff. So I thought it was really good. But I think it's more of Pat kind of getting into a rhythm, realizing, okay, this is what 24 is going to be about. Let's go.
You talk about getting into a rhythm. It seemed like he wanted to get the ball out early and often to his tight ends. In the beginning of the game, you saw Travis Kelce and Noah Gray, along with Jody Fortson, make some big catches early on.
It's great to run 4 tight ends if you have 3 of your 4 that are skilled in running every route on the route tree. And Wiley, we're kind of waiting for him to come along. He's the only guy I'm leaving out of this just because he hasn't been there, done it yet. And I'm kind of waiting for him to, because I know he has the capability. Go back and watch his TCU video. But the 4 tight end is a weapon. especially with Kareem Hunt or Pirine or Carson Steele back at running back, because as it puts a defense in a quandary. They've got to go big because they're thinking if we go small, they're going to run it down our throat. But to run that and say, well, we'll go big here then to punish them, punish a defense like that is to have skilled tight ends who can run, if not every route on the tree, most every route on the route tree. We know Kelsey can. He can run 1 through 9 on routes. Fortson, pretty close. We got to get him back up and running full speed, but still, he can do that. And Noah Gray can run most of them. And now we just got to get Wiley involved, especially in the red zone. And the 4 tight end approach will be a weapon moving forward. It's one of the answers to not having Rashee Rice, which doesn't seem like, oh, that's an apples to non-apples answer, really.
And you brought up Jody Fortson. We've brought up Kareem Hunt. We've brought up Juju Smith-Schuster. What is it about Andy Reid and this team and in the front office about bringing back guys that have been on the squad before and then making impacts in the game?
I think it's his culture that he's built. First of all, infrastructure. I've been asked that question a lot since Monday night, and my answer would be truly infrastructure. And it's the way of doing business. Now, the other piece of this is Andy's ability to look at what I've got. Now, my minute with Mitch a week ago on Channel 13 dealt with bridge. Do you play bridge?
I do not.
Yeah. It's a complicated card game. You have to learn how to, really count. But the highest trump you can have in bridge is no trump, meaning I can play hearts, spades, diamonds, clubs, and it becomes a high card game. So it means I can play all 4 suits and be effective. That's my answer with Andy Reid. Andy Reid will take a look at what he has on his roster, which is it's varied now and extremely varied, and thinking, okay, the opponent, what do they do? What's the strengths that I have and these guys that I've got? Unless we go get somebody, what do I have? How am I going to do this? And he's brilliant at it to put those guys in the best spot available.
And now moving over to the defense in this performance, it seemed like Nick Bolton was everywhere on Monday night.
Yeah, he's healthier. That's one thing. 2, I think the play against Atlanta got him going. Sometimes a single play, even for a veteran player like Bull, will propel them. Like it just puts them in a different spot. And so with Bolt making that game-winning play at Atlanta, I just think he hasn't been the same dude since. Some of it's getting healthy, but some of it is he's got his confidence back. But this whole defense, and I don't blame you. Like we finally got some offense, and I brought offensive volume up, but we just don't talk about this defense enough. You can argue, don't look at total defense. That's a fool's gold stat. I don't care if you're talking about the high school teams playing tonight or tomorrow night. That's still a fool's gold stat. Scoring defense, red zone defense, goal-to-go defense, all that works together, and the Chiefs right now are the best at doing it, and at all 3 levels. Their DBs are playing great. Jalen Watson's playing awesome to go with McGuffey. Nobody's talking about losing L'Jarius Sneed anymore. And when you look at what Chamari Connor's been able to do, so the fact that you have all that work, and then you've got guys that can sub in, because the defensive line is where this is most notable. There's 8 guys active in any one game, and you can sub all those guys in, whether it's Felix and Udike Uzama. Turk Wharton's playing great. We know what Chris Jones is, but this has become a strength, and they may have more depth on the D line, the Chiefs, than any team in the league. Doesn't matter who you rotate in; they're going to be effective and try to get things done. So it's awesome to see it.
And I want to bring something up. So we on the show have talked about the defensive efficiency later in the game, but it seemed like that first drive was always a big bugaboo for them, and it wasn't this week because Brian Cook got up there and got a pick.
Psychological blow to the Saints, because it was a dual impact play. The Saints were number 1 in the league. If you were listening to the play-by-play, I said the Saints were number 1 in the league in scoring off their first possession, 3 touchdowns and a field goal. The Chiefs were near the bottom, and you alluded to it being bad on first possession defense, really the only ink blot. on the Chiefs 4-0 start defensively was the fact that they weren't getting off the great starts. When Cook got that interception, it struck a blow two ways. One, for the Chiefs, we got them off the field, no score. Two, the Saints were like, oh, we didn't score now. We need to get – and they took the ball. Remember, the Saints won the toss and took the ball. That was two things. One, attitude, like we want to show some attitude here that we came to play. But then also, two, we're playing to the numbers. We score first. We want the ball. We'll score first. They're not great at stopping opening drives, so let's go. So when Cook got that, it was a bigger deal than people think because, yes, physically you get them stopped, but it was a huge advantage psychologically for the Chiefs to get that play in that circumstance.
Another thing that I noticed this week, and I've just never put it together, was the efficiency against the run this year and holding some of the best running backs in the league to sub 50 yards.
4 of the 5 games, okay. You brought it up. So it's Derrick Henry, it's J.K. Dobbins, it's Bijan Robinson, and oh my gosh, here he comes, ready to rip and go is Alvin Kamara. The Chiefs shut them all down, all of them. That's number 2, 4, 7, and now I don't know where Dobbins, he slipped a little bit. He had a bye week, so that's why he went down. But the point is, you've got arguably 4 of the top 10 running backs you've faced in 4 of the 5 weeks, and you shut them all down, every one of them. And Derrick Henry's now cooking since the Chiefs game. So again, we take for granted what this Chiefs team has done. And so I'm glad you brought it up because they're playing elite rushers. They're not just playing run-of-the-mill guys. And so what they've been able to do, again, I think is underappreciated maybe from a national standpoint, not so much in the Chiefs kingdom.
And Mitch, we'll wrap it up with this. So we saw everybody watching last night on TBS for the Royals game, saw Patrick Mahomes in the box cheering on the Royals. It's a bye week. What are your plans for this bye week?
What are my plans?
Yes.
Like a lot of our players, they love to go to their high school. I don't know how well you know me or my background, but I grew up in Smith Center. I'll be at Hubbard Stadium tomorrow night as the Redmen take on a district foe that will travel 290 miles to play a district game in the Johnson-Stanton County Trojans. So that's my tomorrow night. The rest of it is being with my father, 92 years old. People can go to Twitter on my Facebook page, I guess. But I'm just from Smith Center. I get a chance to back up and do what a lot of our players do, and that's go back to their home area. A lot of them will go to their college alma mater games, but it's going to be spending time with family and getting away in the land of the Big Red of Smith Center.
All right, Mitch, thanks for the time as always. Okay. We'll talk to you next week.
You ever travel 290 miles for a district game?
I have not.
Okay. Ask Topeka High if they want to go be in the same district with Garden City. That's what this is like.
Wow.
Yep.
All right, Mitch, have a good one.
Okay.
Bye.
See you.
That was Mitch Holthus, voice of the Chiefs. His appearances here on 580 Sports Talk are brought to you by Hy-Vee and Azure Credit Union. Contact Crystal Rippey, Kristen McCall, or Kristen Amblebury about the credit union advantage in getting your first or next home loan. We'll step aside for a break. When we come back, we'll have Michael Massey's media availability. That's coming up next on 580 Sports Talk. Welcome back here to 580 Sports Talk. Youngest in charge moving here. Spencer Dupuis, happy to have you with me here as Michael Massey spoke to the media earlier today prior to tonight's game. It'll be a 7:08 first pitch. Here's Michael Massey's media availability from earlier today.
All the plays last night and the two games before that could have gone either way in determining these games. Do you maybe marvel at just how close postseason baseball has been for you guys?
Yeah, no, that's been something that definitely stands out. Every play matters, and you hear it, but like you said, we've had some good examples of it in the last couple nights. they say it didn't hit him, and then they go back and they look at the replay and they say, oh, well, his pant leg moved, so it must have hit him. But how do you know it wasn't a gust of wind? How do you know his thigh didn't twitch and move his pant leg? I mean, again, it sounds stupid, but the reality is you're never 100% sure on anything. So I think the wording, again, is a bit subjective, but it is what it is. Like I said, that's not that was in the past. It's something that we got to deal with. We were on the wrong side of it, and I thought last night there was a call that the ball on the line could have gone either way, and we were on the right side of that one. So you're kind of used to dealing with those things in the game.
The team, you guys hit relievers pretty well in the regular season. Why do you think that is, and what's made the Yankees bullpen?
Yeah, I think that's a lot of credit goes to our hitting coaches and the guys that are getting the scouting reports and preparing us for those matchups. And, and then obviously the guys are staying in the game, staying focused. And as far as the Yankees, it's, they got a good bullpen. There's a reason why they're playing in the, they're one game away from going to the ALCS. So, they got a lot of good arms out there, good stuff. And they locate pitches, they mix pitches, they throw strikes. And, we're gonna have to do a better job of getting to them if we want to win the series.
The Weather Channel?
Give me the Hurricanes. I'm fascinated. So, obviously.
There's like a regular.
No, I try not to be 65 years old. Sorry. Yeah.
We'll leave it with that here as I teased that Weather Channel comment, and he's fascinated with the weather. So, fun fact you learned about Michael Massey today here on 580 Sports Talk. As we've begin to wrap things up here, just a few more minutes, I also want to play a clip. This is from actually yesterday's media availability because Michael Wacha, the starters tonight, he went yesterday in the media availability. We did not have time to air his press conference yesterday or today for that matter. Part of it was about yesterday and about Seth Lugo. But this was a question he got about what is it, like what's the mentality for him going into the game yesterday, whether it was a clinching game or a back against the wall game. And this is what he had to say.
I don't really think about the leash too much. I just want to go out there and win the ball game, whether it's a clinching game or it's an elimination game. It's a must win in my mind. Either way, I want to go out there and give our guys a chance to win a ball game, just like any other start throughout the season. And this one's no different. Want to get out there, hopefully go deep and give our guys a chance to win a ball game.
That was Michael Wacha on the start tonight. We'll step aside for the final break. When we come back, I'll give you a final word as well as the lineup for tonight for the Royals. That's coming up on the other side of this break. You're listening to 580 Sports Talk right here on 580 WIBW.